Hello and welcome back to the Wars to Come. You have your host as always, Jesse Carpenter. Tonight we have a very fun episode for you, and I'm excited to bring it to you. We have a smaller cast, but it's fun. We only have one actual Wars to Come member with us tonight, but he is the call of calls, Mr. Alejandro. How are we doing tonight? Alejandro?
Ow.
Oh, can't hear him.
Rip, we can't hear Alejandro. He's dead.
I'm here.
Okay.
All right.
How are we doing today, Alejandro?
I'm doing well.
Okay, cool. And our special guest, we have two of them. We have Mr. Dr. Frankenstein himself, Mr. Brad Eamon. How's it going, Brad?
Doing all right. How are you, Igor?
It's been so long since I've seen you. Total of 2 hours.
Yeah.
No, it's good to have you on tonight, man. Tonight, we also have Mr. Roy Rogers, most famous man in Thrones with that beautiful face. How's it going, Roy?
I can never beat Sandy. I'm definitely not the most famous man in Thrones, but I appreciate
in
the
America. In America.
No, Sandy's still more famous.
Well, we're glad to have you on.
I am very happy to be on. So
Sandy couldn't join tonight. He's off meeting billionaires or something. I'm not sure tonight.
Bullshit.
Yeah, but we do. So tonight we have something cool kind of planned. So we each came up with some cards. So this idea was brought to us by Brad. Actually, Brad, do you want to explain it? What we're doing here?
All right. So what I wanted to do was talk about two cards that we think are not good. So like binder fodder. Something you may have put in a deck like once and it just didn't work. But you would never, ever bring it to a tournament and play it. So what I wanted to do was each pick a couple cards and then talk about how either we could improve them or just make them more interesting. So also picking boring cards is fine. Something that's just run-of-the-mill, like, yeah, okay, whatever. And how we could either make them more interesting or just improve them so they could at least see play in some niche decks or even in Tier 1 decks.
Okay,
but yeah,
cool.
That's what I had in mind.
So we're gonna do that, and then if you're joining tonight, you've probably noticed on the Facebook pages, both of them, we're doing an AMA. So we will answer all the questions that were asked tonight, or as many as we can get to, and then we'll take some questions from live listeners. It's a very casual episode. We're just hanging out, having a good time tonight. Not anything super pressing. So before we get down to technical, we're just gonna hang out and have a fun episode for you guys. So. Let's all do, I guess we can start with one card at a time. Who would like to start? I mean, I can start. I don't mind, actually.
Go ahead.
All right, so my first one is a card that the first time I read it, I was like, oh, this card is a piece of shit. It'll never be put in a deck, but I do think the idea is cool. And if it ever was put in a deck, it was just going to be to protect builders, which sucks. But I actually love this card now. I am playing it currently.
Oh, God,
I don't think it'll ever be good.
I know what card this is.
But it is improved fortifications.
Oh.
So, I love this card. I think everyone who has ever met me or seen me online knows why I love this card. Sea of Blood is everyone. Sea of Blood is everywhere. Sea of Blood sucks. As in it's just super oppressive and very good. And they can just blow up my 6-cost location that I just invested into. And this protects it. Also, people don't know what the card does. So when you play it, they have to pick it up and read it. And I always enjoy cards like that. So that is my card. I don't know that I would do anything to make it better. It just doesn't see play because it's not good. But
does it count? I forget. Is it worded that it only saves from discard?
Yeah.
Lead play. No, it's lead play. It's lead play.
It's lead play.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's. I mean, for what that card does, that's literally the best templating it can get. Short of like draw a card or something after.
Sure.
Like, yeah. I mean, there's nothing really to do.
If I could change the wording on it, I'd probably say something like, protect something from leaving play, and if you're playing the big wall, you can just fucking restand it.
What if for like an improvement? What if this was an attachment on a character and it was whenever in a location you control would leave play, you sacrificed it to save it. So if the character's like not in play, so like if you could kill the character before you killed the location, they wouldn't have this card in play, and you could use it to save any location you had instead of just the one you had it attached to.
Oh, that would be good.
So like instead of and then like you're putting it on a character, right? So it would be I guess you could make it terminal. So if the character died, you wouldn't get it back. But like,
sure.
I think attaching it to a character is cooler than just like it's just a dupe, right? Like right now it's a dupe.
Yep.
So instead of it just being like a multicolor or a universal dupe for locations, I think it'd be just cooler to put it on a character, and then the character with the attachment is what saves the location instead of the dupe.
What if it was a character that like
Ooh.
it was like the reverse of an Iron Minds, but for locations? So if it was like
1 strength, build their power icon. Good.
icon, sack, sack to
Oh
clear
god!
up. When a location you control would a Night's Watch. Let's be fair here. A Night's Watch location
Fair.
you control.
Yeah, let's be fair.
It's important to be
that's
fair.
all right.
Please play Sack busted builder to save it.
Draw 7 cards. Do whatever you want.
7. Come on, Night's Watch players aren't greedy. We draw 2 thanks to Hob. All right, so come on.
Chase is the greediest person I've ever met in my entire life.
So would you like want to? Do you think that this card needs to? So like basically, what I'm trying to get is why is it not played?
I want someone smarter to me to make this card better to help New Wall, but don't ever actively help builders, which that's impossible.
It's literally impossible
Good
because they're
luck.
both
Yeah,
location-based
good luck.
strategies. Like unless you like say it cannot be, consider it blank if you control 3 or more characters with the builder trait or something. Which
Yeah.
You could improve it, but make it bad if you have
Or
more
I'm
than
fine with
3
it helping
locations.
builders as long as it helps JonTron too.
well,
Actually,
but
if
Jontron
it's
doesn't
a-
allow
and-
locations.
And
Like,
protects Jon Snow from everything. That would be
Okay.
cool.
If it's an attachment to a character, it kind of does not work with builders since all they get as long as it's
Yeah,
not a
all
weapon.
their no
Oh, wait.
attachments.
the central problem with the card is it's just
Holy
like,
shit. Okay, so if this attached to a
terrible.
character,
top
you
deck.
can play JonTron, but this time you can play Old Wall, which I'm never okay with that card, but I would be okay with it. And you can play JonTron and protect Old Wall.
Yeah, as long as you don't.
That's
As long as
That's just not doing challenges. That's my kind of game.
The
It's
core
kinda
said
awkward.
Dream.
it's kind of awkward because you'd have to make it like an attachment that isn't a weapon, but somehow isn't good with builders, so you can't call it like repair hammer or something. Otherwise,
But also, like, so
just
if
destroys
Three
all the
Fingers
stuff.
you
Ladle.
want to thematically the part of the
This is
Night's
ladling
Watch faction
customers,
thematically
boys.
that's about building walls and repairing walls. Let's not give them a card that is about their theme. That sounds easy to design as a game designer.
Yeah,
but I'm not a
it's
game
fine.
designer. But going back to Jesse's point, I mean the problem is, right, it's worse than a bodyguard, right? Just because as a top deck, right? Like most of the time, right? It's pretty bad when you're like not pretty bad, it's pretty god awful when you're behind. There's like a very specific niche that the card is good, right? And the question is,
those are the kind of cards I love, though.
I know
bro.
those are the cards
that.
you kind of love, Jesse, but those are the kind of cards we make you cut, and then you do better
Ugh.
in the tournaments.
Ugh,
So
those are the worst.
Yeah,
yeah,
What if
Alejandro
so-
is shaking his head here. So
yeah. I mean,
This is
So those
this
are
is
the kind
really
of cards that would like every once in a while I'll send Alejandro a deck, and I'll be like, "What do you think of this?" He's like, "Well, that's not a good card." Like, no.
sorry,
Or
Jeff.
like I show Brad a deck.
I
and
took
he's
this
like,
deck and immediately cut these cards, and he's like, "I built a deck for those cards."
Yeah, it's not cool anymore.
and then suddenly it's a Tarek Fealty deck.
All right.
Tonight
Jesse,
I'm defending.
Jesse.
I'm literally defending a deck to Brad, and he's like, "Why is Last of the Giants in this deck?" I'm like, "Cause Mag's it. Why is Mag in it? I don't know. Cause it's cool. Why not?"
I think I stared at you for like a good 4 seconds. It was debating about even arguing with you or just being like, okay, here's your phone back.
You can put in 2 cards to add to your win condition, or you could play 1x Last and 1x Mag, and then it's just fucking
Powerful. Jesse, I have your fix. I had thought of a fix, okay? So we're going to make an attachment, attach it to a character. You can sack the attachment to save a location you have, or you can
Okay.
sack a location to save the character it's attached to.
Busted!
Oh god! And it's sacrifice tech. Oh god! We know an alliance. Stark.
And I'm not gonna. Hey, it's not gonna be Night's Watch character only. So you could
Jesus
like.
Of course not. Why would it be?
No, sorry. I said sack the attachment. I meant sack the attached character to save the location, or sack a location to save the character.
All right. That's
So
fine.
in big
That's
wall,
still-
you could take their guy with big wall, attach that to him, and then use it to save your location.
God. Just, it sounds like just the best. All right. Okay, so
don't
my
listen to this
first one.
episode, Danny Schaefer.
So So the proposal is make an attachment that says save a character for as many locations as you have. Is that what we're doing here?
No.
Oh, Alejandro.
You can put a
I
restriction on those. You can put a restriction on the save. What if you had to like
Neil, your
sacrifice,
faction card. Ooh.
or just sacrifice a Night's Watch location that costs 2 or more? Like,
Okay.
Sure.
like if you put a cost restriction on the save, it's not that bad.
No, it's fair. And
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
cool.
Night's Watch actually, all things considered, doesn't really have that many super cheap locations these days in that stack.
I mean, Queen's Crown. You know.
You could just say that they have to sack a Night's Watch one and not a neutral one, or if
And
you
then the
made
next pack, I want a 0-cost Night's Watch location that does nothing.
you could also make it
Oh my
only
God.
attached to non-unique characters.
So the problem with this is then Jesse's going to want to start running Northern Rookery in his deck, which is because he's like, look, it's +1 reserve. You draw a card, and then I'm sacking it to.
It's a
I'm
save
sacking
too.
value
Everything's an Iron Mine. It's a save. It's a save.
It's the value.
I'm valoring myself into their valor. All the saves.
All right, so that was my first one. So now we're going to do complete opposite. We're going to do Alejandro's, and then we're going to do the guess. So, Alejandro, what's yours?
Mine is what was the Barra plot? I don't even remember what it's called.
The King's Peace?
The King's Peace. Yeah.
Of course, Jesse knows.
Garbage.
Oh, I've played that plot.
Oh,
We played some Bear Raids back in the day.
Oh my god.
So do you think that it needs what do you think it needs?
Oh, geez. Okay, I did not find solutions for these. I just found really bad cards.
All right,
All
hold
right,
on.
Brad, do your magic. Fix it.
All right, hold on. Let's read it real quick. Just so.
Yeah.
I'll read it out loud.
I got-
Doesn't know.
Do you have it open,
What is it?
Alejandro, or do you want me to read it?
I have it open. I got
There
it.
you
So
go.
4 gold, 0 initiative, 1 claim, loyal to Barra, 5 reserve, plot limit 1, traits, edict, scheme. Reaction: after a military or power challenge is initiated against you, the attacking player may either kneel his or her faction card or move 1 power from that faction card to yours. If that player does not, the challenge immediately ends with no winner or loser.
Well, first off, you make it all 3 challenges. Like, that's immediately makes it better, right?
Yeah, well, yes, that's
Yeah.
a strict improvement.
Reserve, +1 reserve, so make it 6.
It needs some stat boosts. Like 4015 is so bad. So bad.
Right, because, I mean, King's Peace theoretically is, like, best early,
Yeah.
or in a passive power deck, like, in the mid-game.
Well, it's fine late too, because if you have a lot of power and it's closer, I'm close to winning, and I flip
Mhm.
that, you don't want to give me power to make challenges.
That's fair.
That's true. Yeah. And
Like, to close a game, it would be okay. You're gonna lose initiative, which is kind of awkward, but like if you're at 14, your opponent can't initiate a lot of challenges against you.
Didn't Danny print a straight-up neutral version of this card that's kind of better, which is that Uneasy Truce? Which kind of does some of the work that this is trying to do, but is better. Right, because Uneasy Truce is every time a player initiates a challenge, they have to move a power from their faction card to whoever they're attacking.
yeah.
Right?
And then you
So-
can't gain power except during challenges.
except during challenges, right? Well, that's bad for Barra because Barra.
Yeah.
'Cause this plays into the Barra like IKEA strategy, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of what this was designed to support. But it just not doing all 3 challenges is such a weak thing, and then there's just like Barra needs better plots than this. So the
Bear
question is.
needs a plot.
Well, okay, so I think the problem with this plot, besides it being terrible, is the fact that it just like incentivizes more no challenge making, which I don't like.
Well, Bear needs to make challenges to win.
No, right, but like it's challenges initiated against you. Like your opponent doesn't want to challenge you, right? So like,
Right.
I feel like this plot moving that direction even further is just more annoying. That's like one of
Plots.
that?
No matter how good they look, like or how bad they look. This plot obviously looks bad at the beginning. Like plots that allow your opponents to make decisions, like in my opinion, is bad. So like cards that make your opponents make decisions are usually good, but plots they just play around them. They're just like
Yeah.
good players are just be like, okay, it seems like you just fucked up an entire turn. I don't have to do anything.
What if Okay, so would you want like just a complete over or like redesign of this card to keep it like keep a Baratheon plot that's cool, or do you want
So
to
we're
actually
talking the
keep this
king's
text box?
what thematically speaks to the king's piece. Like Robert, for the most of his reign, it was a peaceful reign, outside of the Greyjoy Rebellion,
What if
and that's
if a
like that's like thematically what it's talking about, right, Roy?
Yeah, well, or it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to represent the king's peace, like during the oh my god, the tourney
Okay,
in particular. Like that's what it kind of looks like. The art, at least a little bit to me, it always looked to me like, and it's placed in the first cycle, right? So it's all about the first book. So it always looked to me like that.
if we change the stats, say we buff the stats, and I know this is kind of around the same direction of people don't want to challenge you, but what if it was after a challenge is initiated, or in order for a challenge to be initiated against you, the attacking player must first kneel a character they control?
As an additional, you got a template. What would be?
Well, sure, the template, but my point is that like before they attack you, they have to kneel a character first.
Right.
So they must first kneel a character,
That's
then
fair.
they can initiate
And
a
it
challenge.
plays into Bara's more like active theme,
Right.
telling you what not to do, which is kneeling stuff,
Yeah,
versus
kneeling before
the pure
king.
IKEA stuff. That's fair.
Right. And then, so like flavor-wise, I would guess you would just say like the kneeling character is creating a diversion to allow the challenge to be made. Hence, the keeping up the king's peace, if you will.
I also think it should have the summer trait rather than the edict. Like, I don't think like, particularly thematically, if this is Bara themed, it shouldn't be able to be hit by naval superiority because Bara beat Greyjoy. Like
Ooh,
the king's
yeah, I like that.
peace overcame this. Like, so make it like Bara sometimes particularly like has problems early, like, and something that could give them additional time against Sea of Blood and against Crossing would be good. Like, it's not like like design. I think if you design this plot as something like an opener or a turn tour, so and it loses value as the game goes along, I think would be thematically appropriate and show up some bare weaknesses, right? Because Robert's piece gets weaker as Game of Thrones goes on.
And I think that plays into the kneeling part too,
Right, yeah.
because like later when the boards get more clunky, it's easier to pay the cost of having to kneel a guy to make a challenge.
Yep.
It's also a scheme, so you could theoretically reins into it, and if they don't have a lot of standing guys, or you went first and intimidated people, it could be hard for them to make challenges.
Yeah, it's better
And
to
like,
plot that way.
and any of those like one characters that make all three challenges by themselves, like the Renly Queensguard thing or a Jontron, would get punished by not having standing characters. But it's hard to kneel somebody's board out. I mean, like I said, either way, it's like incentivizing no challenging, which is kind of annoying and I don't like. But Jesse, what about that change? Would you be happy with that, bar guy?
yeah, I want to win and don't want to do challenges. That's the best for me.
I agree with you, Jesse.
That's why I love you. That card is cool. It initiate. I mean, it can be played out of like passive power decks. It can be played on control decks, which are both my favorite kind of decks. So I would enjoy it, and I definitely think it fits the Bears idea, which is cool, and it's a lot better than what it is now.
Another just like off the wall idea, and I don't know about traits and stuff for balancing. But what if it was like after a challenge is initiated against you, you may kneel your faction card and give your opponent a power to cancel that challenge?
Place the power on a character.
Sure, but you know what I mean. Like those numbers
Yes.
could be changed up, and the plot goal and stuff could be changed. But that's
I
a
want it to be
powerful
placed
effect.
on a character because then that makes New Mel just fucking busted.
Right. I just like the idea, like using a faction kneel. But then you have to choose between like using a faction kneel for Solis or using a faction kneel for like that plot.
Yeah.
And like you're not like going overly crazy. And I think like with Night's Watch having, but do you think that's too close to the Night's Watch plot of the like first challenge getting muffed or whatever?
Nah.
I mean, it is pretty close, but getting to pick and having a cost to it is different than the first one.
Yeah.
Different enough, probably.
It's weird because it's like you want everybody to have at least a usable or strong plot. You could do something to feed into the theme of having more power than your opponent on your house card.
Sure.
Is this the only one of the house plots that saw no real competitive play?
I think so, yeah.
Right, because the
In
nice
an
one
actual
still is a
tournament-
staple.
In an actual tournament, outside of my own deck, I've never seen this in a deck. Honestly,
I saw it a few times in casual game nights and
no, in actual
when it just
a
came
couple
out,
store
though,
championships
right?
when it just came out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will say store championship and above. Never seen it in a deck outside of my.
because like what's the Stark one? Wardens of the North saw play.
Mhm.
That's insane.
The Tyrell one kind of didn't make a big
Those are the
splash at first,
Tyrell
but
ones.
but eventually
yeah.
saw play when Tyrell reigns. But then also like some Tyrell Wars was running it. Like we ran it right, Jesse, at Gen Con?
Mhm. You guys.
Yep.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wardens of the South.
Yeah. The Martell one's seen plenty of play.
That
Lanny
reads if
The
you
Lanny
play
one's pretty,
Randall, you're
The
about
only
to
one saw
evolve.
play though at the time, right? Because of the
it's
5
just
gold.
kind of
What? Wait,
kinda
what
got
plot?
outclassed.
the Lanny one.
The Lannister one.
Wait, which one?
So the
Both,
The
last,
to be
Lannister
honest,
one
yeah.
from I'm talking about the cycle of these in the first cycle.
not
Why don't-
Clansman on the Rock.
Oh yeah, that
No,
card
the
is
Wardens
the
of the West, right? Is that plot?
Yeah,
I think that plot will make a huge resurgence. I think that plot is really good in Shadows.
I think so too. I think it's bad in Clansman, but yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of cards are bad.
Wait, you're talking about? Wait, are we
they
back to the
actively
box?
just hate me
one,
and try
or
to
are we
make their deck bad.
I'm confused. I'm sorry. Never mind. Let's drop this Lannister card nonsense.
We're talking about Lions of the Rock,
Okay.
not
The one
Wardens
that
of the
gives
West.
you 3 gold.
Wardens
Yeah,
of
it
the
just
West.
says
Could
if you
definitely-
play Shadows, you get 7 gold.
that could definitely see more play if Shadows gets better out of Lannister.
But yeah, I don't know what else you could do really to this plot. Like, I don't think you can keep its current state
It's just terrible.
and then just like
And it has
you can't.
0 fucking initiative.
So something me and
That's
Leonard do
really
when we're making games is we'll like the question is like, okay, so if I make the gold 7, is this plot still terrible?
Yes.
What if it's 8?
Yes.
9?
It might see play.
Is it that bad at 8? I don't.
Right. Right. That's what I mean. Is like there has to be a number that makes the plot. Oh, we lost Alejandro. But there has to be numbers that you can fill into all of these slots that makes it playable, even with a not good text box, right? Like just core stats on a plot. There's going to be a number combination that you'll go, yeah, that's good. Like if I make a 5-8-2 with no drawback, that plot's great, right?
Yeah, it's insane.
Okay, so what is the numbers that you would think that this would need with its current like conditional printing?
8-1-1.
8-1-1. Okay.
0 initiative is literal dog shit.
What if they always had to give you a power?
I mean, then you're just like, yeah, sure, that's good.
Do you think that's an improvement, right? If you make it all 3 challenges and they have to give you a power to make them, what would the gold value have to be for
But
that?
that plot already exists. It would just have better stats than that plot.
Are you talking like uneasy truce?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one-sided. Like while that is boring, it's still a better plot, right?
Yeah, one-sided is better.
Yeah. Or is there any? So like, what if you just punished intrigue really bad? But then people would just this is what I hate about the no challenge plots and stuff like that is like if you make it just punish 1 challenge, people just won't make them.
Right.
If you make it punish 2 challenges, if it's the punishment's really that bad, people just won't make them, and then it just ends up being where you're just ignoring the challenge phase of plots. Is there any active way that we could make this better? Like while you're attacking, something good happens.
Well, but then it's a complete redesign, like from the ground up, right? Like of the card.
Sure, but is that like bad? If it's
not bad.
unplayable,
Then how am I put the? Well, then we're just like I think there's two separate questions here, right? Like, is this a successful design for a overall design space for Bara for a faction exclusive plot? Or that's question, I guess, 1. Question 2 is like, how can we fix this card in the design space it already exists in? And I think
Yeah.
if Uneasy Truce didn't exist, it would be a lot easier. But that's the problem: is Uneasy Truce does exist. So no matter what, you have to make it better than Uneasy Truce from the start, right? So we have to. That's the baseline: is we already have to be better than Uneasy Truce. Otherwise, people will just play Uneasy Truce. And since it's faction specific, it should probably be better than neutral plots that anyone can play. And it's plot limit 1, right? So it has other restrictions already baked into it. So, like, how do you print, once you have this out and Uneasy Truce, how do you print a plot or change this plot and keep the same, like, idea with the text box without making an uneasy truce. Like that's why I suggested the Neil thing.
The Neil's
because
probably
it's
the best.
yeah, because it like takes like the power element we should go away from because that's where uneasy truce is. So like I would make it either something with cards in hand. Like what if it was discard a card at random?
But is that Bara? So
I mean,
what if
they
it
put a
was
Scene in Flames?
a Seed in
That's like
Flames effect? Like
You gotta look at their hand. No, because they would never make a challenge. If you gotta look at their hand every time, that would be fucking
Oh
insane.
my god.
well, but that's added to one of the three
So it
options.
just says I do whatever I want this turn. It's like worse than Blood of the Dragon with Danny out.
You could make it double. What if you made it double-sided? But to make a challenge, I had to choose and discard a card, and then for you to make a challenge, you had to discard at random. It's really weird, but it gives a slight control to the barrel player that the other guy doesn't have. But you could jack the stats up. Like Uneasy Truce is double-sided, but the stats are a million times better than this plot's.
Like, I need to choose like 4515, right?
No,
Yep.
isn't it 5 gold?
It's 4.
No, it's 4.
Four.
Is it?
It might be 6 reserve though.
It might be
But I
6
think it's
reserve.
5.
Yeah, it's 4-5-1-5 plot limit 1.
This
So
would
that's-
change the flavor to be more in line with lore than it would with the king stuff, though.
Yeah. But I mean, you can rename things, right?
Yeah, but I guess, I mean, I don't know. Go back to my two questions, right? Like, would we want to design like just a Bara loyal plot, like because we're going to be getting one right in the box?
Yeah. I think we already have that, right?
Do we have the Bara one?
Yeah. It's on Thrones DB at least. Parlay at Storm's End.
What does that do?
4 income, 4 initiative, claim 1, reserve 4, plot deck limit 1, siege war, when revealed, name a challenge type until you reveal a new plot. Challenges of that type cannot be initiated.
Woo!
That's double-sided. And that was close to where I was with the where you could kneel a faction card to cancel like
The
a
plot's
challenge.
bad.
But it's turning off the challenge type for both people.
Yeah.
Sure, I think the plot's bad.
What were the stats? It was 4 gold, right?
Yeah, 4416.
I mean, if you really need to turn off military, I don't like. But does Calm over Westeros just not exist? Like,
Well, it's better with Sea of Blood existing, right? It's just better. Like
Yeah,
if that's,
sure.
if that's what you're concerned about, right? Like if you're like, all right, I just like there's got to be a turn. I never want to see a blood trigger. I never want a range trigger to go off. Or I guess Power Behind the Throne, right? We're getting that as. So like if you don't like just I don't want one of those triggers to go off, you would run this. I guess I don't know.
and you'd also have to not care about military at all.
Which so you want to play an IKEA deck here, or
Yeah.
so.
I mean, this is that plot yet again is like I said, it's more stall garbage. Like it's just pushing the do nothing decks harder. Like wow, I can turn off a whole challenge that I don't make anyway. Convenient.
Sounds
Is it-
sweet.
Is it plot limit 1?
It is, yeah. I think all
Okay.
of these are the house.
Thank God. I just, no power. Oh, no power again. Cool.
I don't think there's
they-
any house plots that's not plot level 1.
They all are.
All right. So, which one of you do you want us to throw a card at?
Roy, go.
All right. So mine is the new gift, which is a 2-cost loyal Night's Watch
I
location.
thought we said bad cards.
It's a bad card, Jesse.
Wasn't Team Night's Watch playing this?
The North.
The
they were
Stewards?
playing it.
Absolutely.
I
Raccoon?
really don't like this card. I think it's one of the
Oh
weakest
my
things
God.
to do.
Why do you hate this card?
Card's good.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm willing to be wrong. I'm always wrong. So
Go ahead
I
and
talk to Aaron
read it,
Glazer
so.
every day, and I'm told I'm always wrong. So
I would like it to say the same thing, but then at the bottom it says, if you play Ramsey Snow, you get to draw a card.
So, all right. Sell me on why this is so busted, because I just feel like
It's not
Stewards-
busted. I just think it's a fair card. I think it's a good card in
Is it?
Stewards. I think it's what makes it
Drawing 2 cards a turn with characters that you weren't making challenges with is strong.
But-
Didn't we learn anything from Marine? Drawing extra cards every turn. Like if I got 4 cards a turn,
yeah, but
That's what
Marine
I mean.
itself had no like native tempo loss, right?
I get
Like,
it. But what does this have? If you pay 2 gold to marshal 2 dudes out of your hand and you immediately replace those cards that you just played, what did you really lose?
Well, you don't
2 gold?
immediately. You got to wait to challengers.
Sure, but that's almost immediately. Do you understand? Like, it's not like the stretch of time isn't like turns later or something. It's not banking for a future turn. So what is the actual cost of that? Like, if I subtract 2 cards and then during the challenges draw 2, that seems good.
The problem with this card is that 3-finger Hob exists, and it just makes the cost on this ridiculous.
Yeah, like Hob, but that's because Hob is fucked, not because the new gift is bad.
For sure.
Fair. I've just consistently been underwhelmed by this card.
I've never played the card
from the minute it was printed, and I still didn't love it in our rec cook deck. So
so when you play it, it immediately makes all of your reducers better, right? It upgrades your reducers. If you're playing stewards, you're playing 3 out of house reducers that are stewards, like you're playing the Stark ones or something, right? So those just get a strict upgrade. They used to reduce Stark cards. Now they give you a gold, which is already good.
Fair.
The fact that if you have a steward that isn't going to do anything in a challenge, you can either turn him into a gold or a card is always good. I think that the problem isn't like that the new gift is bad. I think that the stewards is just like it's a pretty decent deck, but it's not the stones, right? If you have options to play anything for Night's Watch, are you going to choose stewards or are you going to choose builders?
Like, or you be a fucking man.
And
play that 6-cost wall.
Night's Watch for sure.
Yeah, like you're just
very
going to
meta dependent. Stewards is good in certain metas. Like
right, but it's not like an insanely broken deck. No. It's good. But this card is the only reason, by the way, that deck is like consistent.
Is it?
Like that? This and Hob are like the 2 reasons that deck is consistent.
Well, I think there's 3 reasons. I think it's those 2, and then Ramsey is the 3rd.
Sure. I mean,
the fact that it's the only Night's Watch deck that can really leverage Mutiny well.
Right, but you have to keep drawing Mutiny, right?
Did I just forget that Night's Watch Greenside is a deck? Like,
yes, a good Night's Watch deck that...
Mutiny is insane in that deck.
So Roy, the thing with Mutiny is you want to keep drawing them, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so like that's the thing is all those decks, so like both of those, Stewards has a bunch of powerful cards that you want to draw of, and the rest of your deck is filled with 1-cost little shitbag units. Like, you want to keep drawing Ramses, you want to keep drawing Mutiny, you want to keep drawing Rat Cook, you want to keep drawing guys so your Rat Cook is more powerful. Like, that deck needs to just keep throwing cards on the table. It's attrition. You're not going to win the game by playing 6/1 strength characters. Like,
is there a change that you want to make to this? Did you have a thought coming into this, Roy?
Yeah. I wanted the phase restrictions taken off.
Oh.
Hell yeah!
What? Right. When have you ever looked at a Thrones card and said, this needs less of a limit?
A lot of them.
Really?
Kyle Vansel just literally killed himself.
Oh, that's a shame. I like Kyle.
I love Kyle too. But...
So you would just let somebody kneel their whole entire board to draw?
No, I would put an internal limit to the effect rather than on it the phase effect.
Okay, so what were you thinking? Like, give me the exact
7 a turn or something.
No, like I would keep the twice, but it would just be limit round rather than phase. So you can gain the gold and you can draw the cards, but I
don't know. I think how many times have you played Stewards? I haven't played Stewards like at all, but every time I read
in testing, like
every time I read this card and like I talked to Martin like when he was building Stewards and we both like agreed that this card was great. Like for an econ card, you don't get much better than this, right?
I mean, the problem for me, I don't know. It could just be my attitude. Like, you can do better than this because sometimes Underground Vault is better than this because sometimes you just need the gold, right?
Right.
Like,
and then like sometimes this card is like way better than the Underground Vault will ever be. But that's what I mean. Is so like you're choosing something that has a higher ceiling and a lower floor,
right? And
assuming that it's more consistent, right?
I guess my experience is that I've more slammed into the floor playing this card than flown high on it. So
sure. And I think Hob makes Hob makes this card worse for sure. Like that's 100% positive. But if Hob was never printed, like this draw is very powerful.
I've only ever been soaring on eagle's wings with this card.
If you take the the phase limit out of the marshalling action too. That's pretty good for Night's Watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
To,
I would love that to happen.
that seems far like way over pushed at that point, I think. But not because of this card, because of Brat's.
If you took that off, I would just deck myself every game.
Like stewards to me, from what I've looked at, has always been just like a huge chunk of characters that cost nothing. So like because you're
I don't even
spewing
play
out
good stewards. You know how many
because
reinforcements I play in my stewards deck? It's more than one.
because you're like spewing out your whole hand full of cheap shit. And you're running like 3 in-house reducers as well as 3 out-of-house reducers. Like sometimes your cards are just bad, and you need to turn them into new cards. Right?
Every single card besides Ramsey is bad.
Mutiny's good. Mutiny's good.
Yeah.
Mutiny is good.
Rat Cook can be good.
Ward is
Ratcook is
good.
pretty busted. Hob is good.
Hob is good.
Ward is really good.
So there's a good indicators. Like we have Ward, Mutiny, Ramsey. 2 of those cards you want to keep drawing because Ramsey. If you keep drawing Ramses, that's fine. He's not dead, right? Mutiny is
Yeah,
good
and you
if
play
keep
reinforcements.
drawing.
So you're playing
Yeah.
6. You're playing 5 Ramses.
Mutiny is good if you keep drawing it, and Ward is
Right,
good because you
Alejandro?
can stack your guy off. Like
That's just
I
efficiency.
feel like that deck is just like going to be starved for cards a ton because it just plays a bunch of cheap shit that literally does nothing and won't help you win the game. And then you have a bunch of good events and characters, or like 2 good events, 1 good character, and 1 good attachment that you want to keep drawing as well.
Fair.
How bad are the opening hands for that deck? Are they just like miserable because it's just a bunch of little cheap shits? Probably 1 ward and
set
then
up
like a
5 or 6
location.
cards. It's the
You
nuts.
set up a lot of cards. It floats on whether like if you see Ratcook Mutiny, like you're like GG boys.
You want to see Econ on setup? You want to see? I mean, I always want to see the new.
And the other thing is this could definitely lose the limited keyword. Although
yeah, I'm down with that. Fuck, I want to play the new gift and underground, and I want to play
it's unique. So
and I want to play the Flea Bottom Alley card.
Couldn't you just put that? Couldn't you put that
card shouldn't be
stupid?
limited either.
Like being able to like marshal a limited, like I'm gonna play an underground vault, make $2, and then play that new builder doofus that goes in tutors for something that costs 2. Oh, I hit this stupid location. Like you would just lead him and then go, oh, I hit a new gift and I have an underground vault in my hand, so I will play my new gift. Or like, oh, I have a new gift in my hand and I hit an underground vault, so I will take my underground vault instead of my other new gift.
I mean, Age Builder just breaks Night's Watch limited sequencing though. Like you do that play all the time in builders. You just like I'm gonna open Age Craftman, trigger the gift. All right, boys, let's see what this is gonna decide what order we do things here. Is it my limited? I'll play another limited.
I've never said this with Thrones, but now that we have the 1 rule restricted list, I'm down to just keep printing busted cards. Like let's just see how close to the edge we can get. Let's just push it off. Just push it off the edge.
We were pretty close.
That Marine deck is arguably one of the most broken things I've ever piloted in terms of not just comboing out and killing someone.
It is one of the most powerful fair decks that Thrones 2.0 has.
By fair, like not combo, like doesn't, and then like the ladies combo was the edge. That was over the edge. That broke the game.
Yeah.
If something wasn't changed, it was already broke. And that was with cards that they meant to be printing. This isn't even Jesse's let's push it to 11 mindset. That was with just fair cards. So
I just want Blessed by the Maiden to be a neutral card, honestly, boys.
What?
I just want to protect Voltron in every house. That's
why you play Banner Rose, man. Rose Cohort.
It's a Tyrell character only.
Is it Tyrell character only?
Yes, absolutely. That card would see a lot more play. Can you imagine Viper if he couldn't be touched? Okay.
Yeah.
And before Roy's second card.
All right, Alejandro, what's your first?
What? Brad hasn't gone yet.
Oh, Brad has to go.
I have one that's kind of uninteresting. I want to design or talk about a design, so I can just name any one of them.
Well, Jesse?
What?
I literally... Sorry, I have Blessed by the Maiden literally open. It says, character you control only.
Got him.
Really?
Attached character gains the 7 trait.
Wow.
And no attachments to Blood Blessed. It's a 2-cost, non-loyal Tyrell attachment.
Doesn't say Tyrell character only.
I mean, unless the Throne CB, you want me to take out my collection? It's like right here.
Nah, dude, I believe you. All
I'll
right.
bring up a picture. Nope,
I'll
character
post,
control
like-
only.
All right, now this is your
The
fault.
problem-
Remember this. How many drunk decks do you think will be posted in the Lances before 8 a.m. tomorrow?
That makes me excited. I want to. I love this card. Except when I'm playing builders, then I don't like Blessed by the Maiden. So
I wish they would just give me Mace back.
The
Me
problem with
too.
that card
Me too, buddy.
knocks
Yeah.
off all the other attachments, and that's why you can't play it in different Voltron decks.
Nah, it's fine.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, sounds fair, dog. Let me have Mace back.
All right, what's your
Oh,
design?
So what I was thinking, what I hate is I think that Thrones has a lot of boring econ plots. I think like the most interesting one is the one where you have to sack your own guy and it gives you $7. So what I wanted was like, how do you make an econ plot that isn't just abysmally fucking boring? Like at the gates, like right when that got printed, like me and Jesse talked about it. Remember, and I was like, this is the most boring thing I've ever fucking read. Like
How many times a week do you see me bitching about At the Gates in the Lances chat, Roy?
a lot.
I
It's just
hate
so
it.
it's just so boring and like
It reads, I am a boring idiot.
like if you had like do you think there'd ever be a realm where there could be like 4 or 5 econ plots that all just help decks in different ways, and then like while they would be ubiquitous for certain types of decks, it would still be a variation when you played against a field of decks. So like if you made one that was particularly better for Greyjoy than other houses, and like you know what I mean, like do you think you can ever get to that?
I don't know. I mean, At the Gates complicates a lot of things.
I think it should have only
At the Gates
only
is literally
gotten
Time of Plenty, but protected.
yeah.
So
Doesn't Peace and Prosperity already do this? Right? Like, are we talking about effects like that? Cards like that?
Peace and Prosperity would be
peace and prosperity is interesting in cohort, but the maximum amount of money that gives you is like what 7.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, I just feel like that's overshadowed even by At the Gates.
Brad
Like,
and I have went rounds and rounds about how good Peace and Prosperity is and is not.
I don't like that card because you have to like situationally like the restrictions are so bad that if you flub one of them, that plot feels miserable.
yeah, that's fair. That's why I cut it from the builders deck that I was playing. Like, just sometimes it just was awkward, or you ended up giving up the. You ended up giving
One
up
of my
the
favorite cards that
character
have been
reduction.
printed, but you have to take it out for At the Gates now because you know what At the Gates does not do? If you don't see Rickon on the board, it does not miss.
Yeah,
That's great.
It just sets you up for the entire game.
I think At the Gates would have been more interesting had they only let you get one of those in-house gate things, like the new gates that they released in the cycle.
So
right?
Sure.
But the problem with
Are you
econ
saying you wish
plots,
Gates of the Moon had never been printed? I do.
No. They can leave Gates of the Moon, but you can't get it with the Gates card if you make it say you take an in-house location, gate location with printed cost 1 or lower or whatever.
Sure,
So then
that's fair. I mean, I think that makes the plot bad. But
I mean, for Lanny Shadows, it might be fine, right? Like if Lanny Shadows is
Night's
ever
Watch.
a deck, you get to go get that gate. Like it's still +1 gold. It draws you 2 cards. Like that's not bad at all. That's a fine lead plot.
so econ plots are always going to be a problem in this game, though, because of like the decision that they made in the beginning of 1.0 or 2.0, excuse me, to try to make econ progression linear. So like there was a specific design that they tried to do where it was like there will be a real turn 1, like Magic has a turn 1. There will be a real like Hearthstone has a turn 1. That the game is going to progress much more linearly than second edition or the first edition did, which is like turn 1 setup, turn 2 incremental board change, turn 3 incremental board change, turn 4 it's clear someone's going to win, turn 5 the game is over. Like that was the design space that Nate and Alex and all those people, Alex Haynes, tried to push at the beginning of the core set. And you see this in the way in which the first 2 cycles plots were designed, and you see how much trading busted open that attempt to do that. Like just the spike in certain factions that could abuse trading with the Pentoshi early on is one of the reasons why Lannister got so good so fast, right? It's because once they were able to break that system consistently, their overpushed 7-costers just ran over the game. So like I think the problem, econ plots are just a problem because of the way they restructured the game in second edition. And it's just, I think At the Gates is good because it solves this problem, because now every faction has a busted ass way to just sort of reduce the variance in that linear progression that Nate and Alex tried to put into the game. And it just gets rid of a problem, I think, that's been dogging second edition since the Mirando days.
Do you think that the death of Choke and like the overwhelming amount of econ plots that got printed has any say in that? Because like if you have a meta where people have like might lead trading or might lead a 4 gold fair plot, the fact that Naval exists and you could hit a trading and it almost certainly ends the game in that scenario made people think twice, right? But then as soon as like trade routes was the beginning of the end for Choke. Like that was the end for any sort of Choke strategy. Like I used to play Night's Watch Lanny all the time and could win with a Choke deck. Like the characters weren't super good. Like ranging parties just cost efficient, right? Like Braun was cost efficient because they didn't have money. None of them have text boxes that just overrun the game. But the strategy was that if you take away your opponent's money and don't let them play their good characters, your cost efficient ones will outpace them. So like ranging party starts he costs 4 and is 5. That's bigger than your strength to text like ratio, right? But then like between Flea Bottom and trade routes and all that shit and like Kotho, where you can just dump 7 gold into play for like nothing. Like trade routes has no drawback.
No, it's true, but I mean, there's two separate things. Like my first tournament success in second edition, I was playing Bratz's or Wausau's Night's Watch Lion deck, right? Like that's where I got second in like the 25-30 person Throne Soberfest. So I have a soft spot for the deck, but I really just don't like Choke as a strategy. I don't like the non-games it produces. Like it's like
the best.
I know it's just the best, and there's nothing better than like hitting someone's training with the Pentoshi with Naval, which is how I won my semifinal game against Austin, where he opened trading and I navaled him, and he turned to Keith and was like, "Why didn't you tell me he's running Naval?" And I just won the game on just turn 1. It was a non-game though. Like he had zero fun. I mean, I had fun. I'm like, ooh, I get to go to the finals.
So before you continue, so now you said that trading had broke the game wide open because it allowed people to spike in the early turns, which that wouldn't be bad if you have. That's why I said that's why I'm arguing for the Choke, because that card is no longer bad if you have the counterbalance of if I naval it, you're fucking dead. Right? Because then you have a realistic risk of trying to spike in decks that don't deserve to spike. Like, if you want to abuse the linear strategy of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever, if you want to try and step outside of that bound, there is a possible check in the game that can punish you for doing that. And when Naval misses, it's miserable. If you if you play Calm and I play Naval, you got me, then I am the one that gets punished because I didn't hit. So it is like risk reward, but the problem is that you print so many cards that either make money without being kingdoms or something like fucking trade routes, where the 2 gold it makes doesn't matter. Like the gold printed on the text box is almost irrelevant. Like that plot could have just made money for each location in play. It could have been 0 gold and it would still been played. Like that's fucking nuts.
I do want to point out that I think that the demise of Choke is being greatly overstated here. Like I talked about a lot in the last episode. There's a Night's Watch HRD deck that
is it HRD and White Tree?
Yep, it's that deck I showed you.
Yeah.
Is it consistent?
How?
No.
I don't understand how.
It's good. It's really good. But it loses the Sea of Blood. And it loses the Sea of Blood, and if you kill the High Septon, or the High Sparrow, you're dead.
I mean,
I played 100 reps with that deck.
I don't have any reps with it, but
I have a lot. It's
feels
very
like
good.
It's
And in the
overstating it.
matchups where it wins, it does choke your opponent out, and it feels great. Because you're choking them and attritioning them to death. And the games where it feels bad, you feel like you can't do anything, you built a deck of poop. It feels terrible.
I mean, we're about to get a bunch of...
The way that should go? Like, if you don't get to apply the choke, you lose?
Sure, I agree with you. I don't think choke is the reason that deck is good. It's that the attrition is good. And High Sparrow is good.
So here's like a clear-cut example of choke.
I don't think choke is a viable strategy.
Is Famine a good plot?
I think Jim built a good deck.
Is Famine a good plot?
I'm not the person to ask that question.
Generally, no.
Not anymore.
That is the choke plot. Like, that's the premium choke plot, right? Like, you're low on characters. I sacrifice...
Frost, just back to back. Oh, God!
I sacrifice all of my gold to get
And
2
you got
flames
and you got
and
fish
make your
whiskers
things
and
more
milk Kalen
expensive.
out.
So I think to go back to HRD White Tree. I think HRD White Tree is an attrition deck. Well, it's a permission
sick,
deck, right?
Buzz.
Because that's really what high sparrow strategies really are, right? Like they put you in a situation where, particularly, well, maybe it's because I mostly played against people playing the Adam Martell, but where they can just put you in a situation where they get to say it, like yes or no to everything you do, right? Like thanks to the high sparrow choking you on cards or limiting you on cards. The gold choke's not really that big. It's really the draw choke that gets you with that card, in my experience. Like they can put you in situations, particularly if they can back it up with things like the Martell cancel, and things like that. They just like you can't, or Vince's like that get it difficult for you to get under. Like if you're not seeing cards, I think it's the cards that you don't see over the gold. It's the real big problem.
So, I'm talking about a very specific situation, because the gold choke was very like from what I saw was the reason why that deck was winning.
So here's the thing. So choke is super viable against specifically 2 factions. Greyjoy, because they only have 7 and 6 drops to play. And it's really tough if you can't play more than 1 character a turn. It cripples them. It literally cripples them. And I believe that's the scenario you're talking about. And then it's good against Barra. Because Barra can play every econ card in the game, and they still don't have any fucking money for some reason.
I don't know.
Outside of that, you can't choke.
How does builders give a fuck about your white tree?
What?
Like, how does builders care about having 1 or 2
That's
less
what I'm saying.
now?
So builders, Targ, Lannister, even Tyrell, it's just so bad against so many other houses. Like it's just like you can't choke them. Stark does not give a shit about White Tree.
Well, because Stark's curve is so low, right?
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Like the game just doesn't allow it to happen. But against the houses that have such a high curve, it just seems insane against it. I'm sure you play Greyjoy Crossing and you couldn't play more than 1 character a turn. I'm sure it just felt choked to death.
I watched it beat Starksy. I watched it beat Martell Fieldsy. Like I don't. Yeah,
That's
weird to me
that it beats Martell Fealty because that deck comes with an extra gold.
Yeah. I've played the deck a lot. The deck is better. The deck, in my opinion, is a little bit worse than what Alejandro was saying, but it is very good. When it sees all the pieces, it does choke, but I don't think it's a viable strategy.
Like,
I do not think it's that good.
Unlimiteds is so good.
What's up?
Breaking Ties Unlimiteds.
Oh yes, you're correct. Breaking Ties does. Breaking Ties does just. When you play Breaking Ties, it feels very good in the deck. But
how do you beat it's so confusing to me because I just feel like builders wouldn't give a shit, and neither would.
I mean, builders would against builders. You definitely have to switch into the attrition side of that deck where Mag just goes off on them.
Yeah. Huh.
I mean, the deck is good. The deck is good. The strategy is not viable.
We're very off topic here, but
no, what you're trying to say is the deck is good at what it's doing, but what it's doing isn't very good in the specific meta right now.
Yes, correct. Yep. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so basically, my question melted down to: can you make an interesting econ card, or are they just all going to be boring?
That's how we got there. Okay.
Yeah.
Iron Bank will have it to do as an interesting econ card. I mean, it is, right? It is an interesting econ card.
Card was the wrong word. Plot.
Yeah.
What's an econ plot? 5 gold or higher, or 6 gold or higher?
Like at the gates, late summer feast, trading with the Pentoshi. I use the one that Fallen from Favor or whatever, the one where you sack your own guy.
Yep, Fallen from Favor is.
That is the most interesting
econ plot. Huge uptick with Knights of the Hollow Hill out.
Yeah, because you're just guaranteed 9 gold. But that is the most interesting plot, though, like econ plot.
But that is not making it interesting. That's just loopholing the plot.
No, not Knights making it more interesting. Like, I think Fallen is interesting before that because it lets you, if you steal your opponent's characters, it has an interesting interaction.
I love it, and it has high initiative. It's a good plot.
Yeah, like sacking your own brawn is cool.
And the reserve is good, too.
Because I think it's because it interacts with the board instead of just furthering your economy. Like it furthers your economy plus interacts with the board. Like trading is boring. Late Summer Feast is boring.
And if it does interact with the board, you're like, I got him.
Yeah, At the Gates is super boring. But that's what I mean is like, can you print a plot that makes money that's going to be better than At the Gates, or not better, but situationally better as well as.
I would say one of the best feelings in the world when you're playing Martell or Night's Watch Attrition. And you open Fallen with no characters in play. You just like have the nut set up with gold, and they play Time of Plenty. You're like, oh my god, I punished you.
Yeah. So like, how do you make an interesting econ plot that like you can convince somebody to not just lead At the Gates?
I don't think. I mean, I don't think you can. Right? I just think the game cares about econ too much. Like, I think an interesting econ plot is Calmer Westeros, but people don't think that's enough money. Like, Noble Cause is interesting to me. You have to have a Lord or Lady. It's good. It's a lot of econ. It, like, punishes you on initiative. I think that's a good plot. But then they print plots that, like, say 582, draw 2 cards, and do whatever you want. So then that plot.
So do you think the other plots like a lot of the other plots existing like that are just like even like that, like aggro plots like outclass even like basic econ plots like Calm, and that's the problem?
Yeah,
like, why play Calm over Westeros when you could just play like an aggressive plot that gives you the same amount of money?
I don't think Calm really has a place in the game outside of Melee anymore, which sucks because I really like the plot.
Yeah.
Because it's just outclassed by, in my opinion, busted plots.
You don't even see it in Builder's Summer anymore, right? Where it becomes a 6-gold plot that turns off the challenge you hate on the first turn, which is military.
I don't think so.
Like, you just don't have space for it. There are better utility plots. There's At the Gates, which is busted in Builders. Like,
so is there any way back from At the Gates?
Now too.
Banning it. But I don't think there's anywhere to go back. But then, see, the problem with At the Gates goes back to my earlier argument. Like, the good thing about At the Gates is all the factions have access. And there's at least one good target in the form of Gates of the Moon for every faction. I mean, but once we go back,
I can't bitch about Gates of the Moon because here's the thing: I hate Gates of the Moon. I think it's like just super boring. But like, I am not in a position to bitch about it because I bitched about Time of Plenty for so long because I thought it was just an actively bad card and people played it. I cannot say don't play Gates of the Moon or don't play At the Gates. It's a bad card when it's not bad. It's insanely good.
Did your opinion change on Time of Plenty?
Never.
Oh, okay. You said that you used to have that opinion about Time of Plenty.
Well, because people don't play it because they play At the Gates. If you still play Time of Plenty, you're trash.
Right. So, but if they ban At the Gates, everybody goes back to Time of Plenty. We go back to Summer Harvest. We're happy. Everyone's miserable. Is that what I gathered?
That's fine with me, actually. I mean, I'm fine with being miserable.
Yeah, you need to print more things like Rickon that punishes At the Gates.
Sure. I mean, I love Rickon.
I mean, I don't know. Like, or you just don't punish At the Gates, and like economy doesn't become one of the system interactions. Like, I mean, this is my personal, 100% just my own personal opinion. I think a game where all factions have access to a powerful effects that they can do every game relatively consistently is more fun than the math problem that is econ balance.
I agree with you. Yeah.
All right. So we're already an hour into the episode. And we're only through a card.
So do we just want to jump to the AMA part now, Jesse?
Maybe.
We put our AMA game designer hat on.
I'm okay with just jumping to the AMA. We can all just say what the last card we had was, but don't discuss.
Sure. Mine is very easy. It's honestly out of loyalty, and I just want the card to be a lot better. I wish Crows of Trixie Bird was not a plot action. I wish it was just an any phase action, or at the worst, a dominance action. That would make me very, very happy.
I agree.
I just want to violate their plot deck. Just get in there.
You want to put your dick beaters on somebody else's plots.
All right. Alejandro, what's yours?
I didn't have a second one, so this works for me.
All right, cool. Roy, what's yours?
Hold on, I'm trying to find the card number. Give me 1 second.
Go ahead, bro.
It's so bad you forgot the name, Roy?
No, I know the fact. Hold on. It is card number 198A in the core set. The House Baratheon house card.
Should be +1. Should be +1 gold.
Oh, gold.
Bare minimum +1 gold.
So I was gonna try to go last, Jesse, just to.
How do you feel about the other side, Roy? How do you feel about the other side?
The other side's not so bad. The Banner Stag
One
Alright,
app is
198B core set is much better than the A side, which just isn't how it should be. I love my
Mine-
IKEA.
Mine was Brazen Beast.
Which one's Brazen Beast? Is that the one that you
The
pay to
dark
get out
Back
of the
in the
discard pile?
shadows from your
Yeah, okay.
Alright, let's do some AMA.
Alright, pulling it up now. Alright, we got some questions here, so we'll try to keep them as quick as we can, but we're going to try to get to them all. Alright, what are the best answers, counters to Greyjoy in the current meta? Are they still in a tier of their own? This comes to us from a good buddy of mine, Jimmy Stewart. I can start us out. I definitely don't think Greyjoy's in a tier of their own. I think Stark is better than Greyjoy, if not at the same level.
The same level.
Yeah. At the very
Play-
least.
play
At the
Rat
very
Cook.
least.
Honest to goodness, Rat Cook.
So I
Good
think
Greyjoy.
the best counters to the issue is I think the best counters to Greyjoy aren't as good as against Stark. So it's like a really interesting meta call if you think there's gonna be a lot of Greyjoy there. Like, we're talking about Greyjoy big guys, right? Like Drown God is another story. And I think that's why Greyjoy is so well placed right now. It's like Greyjoy. So Stark, all of their decks are very good, but like most of them play the same. Like Drown God and Greyjoy big guys is so different that they can both come at you from different angles.
Yeah.
And the things that beat Greyjoy big guys are not the things that beat Greyjoy Drown God.
Yeah.
So the counters to Greyjoy big guys, I'm going to say this. I've been preaching it. Big Wall beats Greyjoy big guys. It crushes them. It destroys them. If you take one of their 7 drops, it's a little rough. If you take 2 of their 7 drops, they're dead. Any attrition, like I think Martell still beats Greyjoy, right? Or no?
Aaron says no, or not close enough for his belief. He thinks it's close to 50-50.
I think Stark is a good
very
matchup
close
against
to
Greyjoy.
50-50, I think.
What about Builders?
Builders beats Greyjoy if you tack it.
Builders does.
I think
one of-
playing Builders and teching it is honestly probably one of the better answers
Yep.
to all this.
I mean, I'm
'Cause,
not
like,
even
you
sure
still
they
have a
attack it. Against
still have an
Greyjoy? Sorry.
well, you either tech against that or Stark, and then you play
Some of the
that back.
answers for builders, some of the answers are the same, right? Like, oh my god, what's the plot? Fortified position is ridiculously good against Greyjoy, and both the Drown God and the big guy version, and it's good against Stark.
Yeah.
Like,
It's literally
fortified position flips those matchups in like,
fortified position against everything but Stark Reigns is very good.
yes, it's still pretty good against Stark Reigns.
If you can protect, if you can win the intrigue challenge,
Yeah.
it's very good.
It sounds like Builders is probably the answer then, because you're respectable against both of the decks, and if you just play well, you're probably fine.
I think we've decided that Night's Watch is the answer.
Short of
Night's Watch
playing-
is particularly good against Greyjoy.
I think what we should do
But
is just
not-
play Greyjoy and be better, and then like just everybody play Greyjoy. We'll get Vince restricted, and then everyone
also-
is happier.
The cancel with Vince is bad, but I also think Targ is still a pretty solid answer against Greyjoy. Burn still beats Greyjoy. Like straight
They
up,
can,
if they
they
cannot,
can.
if they, it's like so they can rush you down. So like Greyjoy X can be tough sometimes, but like man, Burn is just so good against Greyjoy because they just can't play more than 1 or 2 characters a turn.
Well, it's good against Greyjoy big guys, right? Because Sean's going around talking about how Drown God beats Targaryen. So.
It does, but it's a close matchup. It's not like
Yeah.
it crushes. Like
Yeah, I mean, in the top 4 game, was
he
it
had to
against
see
Sarah?
all 3 Risens to win.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, let's
Yeah,
not get out of
that's what I
hand.
was
Like,
thinking,
he saw the cards that the other player didn't.
Look,
Like, that's variance. But, like, I think I personally, and I don't play a lot of Burn, I personally do think that Targ, in theory, in playing the decks, like, playing Greyjoy versus Targ, if I'm playing Greyjoy, I don't want to see Targ. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. The problem there for me lies that then you have to play Targ, and I just don't want to play Targ right now.
I would say that Vince hurts in that matchup, and, like, so the problem is, like, are they playing box Balon or not. That's the big answer to everything, in my opinion. If they're not playing box Balon, then I think every house has a good answer against Greyjoy. You just play their cards.
Yeah, the core Balon decks are just way more rush. Like they are trying to win turn 2.
They're
and
a lot
turn
more
3.
disruptible.
Yeah, but
If
they
they
are
play
not
box
nearly as
Balon
resilient.
and it's a good player, you're just like, you have to watch what you play. You have to watch what goes in your discard pile. It's a lot different game. It's scary.
Yep.
Box Balon is just insane to me.
So it sounds like are we agreeing builders? Because
Builders is a safe bet. Targaryen is a pretty good
so
bet.
it just drives me nuts because I feel like builders just has like the best matchup versus the field, like substantially better than everyone else, and everyone just neglects the deck.
I mean, I just don't enjoy playing it. That's our problem.
If I know that I hate doing this comparison, but if this was Magic, what percentage of the field do you think would play builders?
40.
Winter is cold.
Okay.
I think it'd be less than that because the
Yeah, I'm not-
40%.
the 40
It'd be one tournament. Then the meta would adapt hard because builders. if you were ready for-
So the first tournament, like say tomorrow, boof, it's Magic the Gathering. Everybody has the mentality of playing to win, thousands of dollars on the line.
30 to 40%. Every control player ever would play builders.
Yeah.
because it's a control deck, despite what control players.
It's off control for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, whine about.
I think it's super. I love control. I love control. I hate builders, but I will be the first one to admit it is hard control. I don't think it's soft at all. It's literally
we're defining these very differently. Then,
it's a jail deck. It's literally just.
You literally have a
down.
card that says you can't attack. Like, this character can't attack.
It's like but
it's not taking it off the board, right? So it's
in Throne,
well, it's not an attrition deck. It's not a get you to zero deck.
Doesn't it play both Valors?
Some do.
It doesn't play Valor M.
Okay, so it plays Valor D, which takes stuff off the board. I mean, it's more like Turbo Fog. Like it makes the board not matter, right?
Yeah.
Like it takes the combat phase out of the game, which is
what always like blows me away. Like why Leonard doesn't like builders. It's literal jail.
Yeah, it's prison. It makes if your deck wins with the challenge phase, it makes the challenge phase not matter.
Yep, correct.
Which that to me is like that's Turbo Fog in Magic. Like you just play Fog every turn. Okay, so what Turbo Fog is in Magic is you play control, you counter certain spells that are bad for you. So that would be Hand's Judgment or Milk, I guess, if a character's text box was bad. People will try to attack you to win the game. If your deck uses creatures to win the game, the way that Turbo Fog will beat you is by taking extra turns, drawing extra cards, and then there's a card in Magic called Fog that has a million different iterations, which all it does is prevent all the combat damage that happens that turn. So if I'm drawing 2 cards a turn, I'm going to get ahead. I will just keep playing Fogs over and over and over again until I can play like a board clear, which in Builder's case is Valor D, to shrink you back down. And then I continue to make the combat phase not matter, turn after turn after turn after turn. And then I win the game passively somehow. Builders does it through the wall. In Magic, people would do it by either milling their opponent out or getting some Planeswalker out that has an insane ultimate ability that just wins the game by itself. So making the combat phase not matter is the takeaways. Drawing extra cards, which is the watch as need, like drawing extra, like gaining extra resources, and then having a passive way to end the game, which is the wall. Those are like the 3 points of Turbo Fog and Magic, and that seems to be.
If I was rich, I would definitely play Turbo Fog in Standard right now.
Nexus of Fate.
But anyway, what's next one?
Let's move on. All right, James McKenna. Why are so few Reigns decks seeing play nowadays? Are they generally useful schemes, just not as like? Are they generally useful schemes, not as impactful as they used to be?
I played Reigns at your tournament, Jesse, and I'll say that like I fired Reigns a lot of times, and there's like a lot of the Reigns plots just aren't as impactful as they used to be. Like Wildfire plus the Mountain obviously can be stupid, or Wildfire plus 2-claim plot can be dumb. But like outside of that, the next most impactful scheme was Breaking Ties, which is now restricted. And then after, like, what are you going to go into? The one that fucking draws you 2? And you also don't get to play that. You don't get to play the 5/8/2 that draws you 2. You can only play it in your Reigns deck.
It's the one that raises claim unless you do another Intrigue. That's the...
Spider's Web is the net play.
Yeah.
Spider's Web is it's fine.
And then in Stark Reigns it's Forgotten Plans.
I think Game of Thrones can be more oppressive than Spider's Web.
Game of Thrones
Oh, I don't know, man.
Is
Spider
one of the best reasons to be playing Reigns, though.
Like,
And
Spider's
it-
Web-
Blowout games.
in the Dario Speedwagon deck, Spider's Web just ruins their life.
yeah, but Power Behind the Throne is just better in that deck.
I mean, they're both good.
Yeah, but like outside of that deck, because that's like the maximum high roll win turn 1 deck,
Which no one believes that deck is good.
which they're all horribly wrong. But anyway,
Yes.
like other
That
Reigns
deck is still, to this day, the fastest deck in Thrones.
I have never seen a faster deck.
Nope, I don't think there ever will exist one.
No.
That
You-
deck
you-
literally
Does it do
kills
it
you.
what it wants to do consistently?
Pretty consistently. I would say it was better when it had when there was no restricted list. But even with or no recent restrictions, but even with the recent restrictions, there is a lot of times that you can cheese people pretty effectively. And the reason why that deck is so stupid is even if you fucking miss, all of your cards are still good because they're target cards.
It is the best version of Free Folk that is not Free Folk I've ever seen in my entire life.
Like the number of cards that are dedicated to like just windmilling people on turn 1 is like Last of the Giants, Jackin, Mag, and that's it, right?
Yep.
Like Cheeseman isn't bad. Jackin.
Agreed. I don't
Jackin-
think Cheeseman is bad.
Shut up. Jackin outside of like Last of the Giants, like sometimes I've played Jackin or played Dario, like just played them with money, and it wasn't bad. Like you're still playing Reigns, and you have Clotho, and Second Sons and Flea Bottom. What,
And
like,
Masande.
and the Sunday. Like what the cards are never bad. You also run Hand's Judgment in the main in that deck, which can end up just blowing people out all the time. Where it's like, oh, I put in this Clotho, I'll burn it, cancel, and people are like, what? Like, but yeah, no, that deck is super good outside of the Wombo combo because it's just solid target cards. But if you ever hit and like what's it called? Second Sons and Clotho are like the definition of fast cards, right? But you don't need to particularly be playing a fast strategy to play those cards. You're just playing them because they're good.
So to double back to Reigns itself, so I think the main point that we had that the schemes have been somewhat outclassed. The agendas have gotten better, like it just across the board, and then I think the level of like Reigns was so good because the game was in a place where the level of interaction that Reigns gave you, or the axis of interaction, was really good. I don't think the meta is really there right now, where just like flipping into certain relatively narrow plots is something that you really need. Just where both where the other agendas are right now, and just where board states and games are. The game, like the Reigns, at least from what I remember during the Tyranny of Lanny Reigns, and I played a lot of Night's Watch Reigns in that time period, which was designed specifically to beat, was like Reigns really focused on the middle turns a lot, like finding that turn where you could flip the game with locking them out with a Game of Thrones, or flipping the game with a wildfire trigger, or whatever they wanted to do to you. And like the game's much more polarized in the sense that it's either like settled on plot 1 or 2, or to use Brad's metaphor for Magic, turbo fogging you to death. Like
Outside of the
comboing
outside of like the 1 to 4 tier 1 to tier 2 Reigns decks, I think the game is just way too fast for Reigns
1
to be
to
good.
4? That's a lot, though.
they're not
What?
for tier
Half
1.
of it.
We're in the Classic Thrones trap, so we can't actually classify decks into deck tiers.
Yeah.
So it's not useful to discuss it because
I-
everything's a tier 1 deck to every Thrones player.
I have two questions about Reigns. One, do you think that not being able to play you win or you die in a plot in your plot deck is like a big strike against Reigns?
It is. I will say that I think that
I would
one
say
of the
that
other-
the Targ Reigns deck that we think is good would love that in the regular plot deck.
Yeah, because it's like one of the few respectable 2-claim plots like that you can play in your plot deck and not be miserable. The other thing I was going to say is that like, do you think it's harder to win an intrigue by 5 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
People
is.
want their
The
hands.
boards are
People
smaller.
protect it a lot more
Like,
than they
well-
used to.
And the
Like,
icon spread is better. You don't get free range triggers against some factions like you used to.
Well,
Yes.
and the econ's better, right?
When you were playing Reigns and you played, when you were like, back in the day when you like set up a Reigns agenda, you like sat down across Barrett, you were just like, oh, this could be rough for you, buddy.
Game's over, friend.
Sometimes it gets Stark too if they weren't on Winterfell. Like you're
Yeah,
like, "All right."
absolutely. You're just like, oh, no Winterfell, I just win. Cool.
You have to see Cat, and then
Also, just like the power of Sea of Blood is also just more alluring too, right?
That's
Like-
what I was gonna say is that
Yeah.
like lots of people. I think that if we collectively as a group are building range decks, we would see more like decks that could see competitive play. But the thing is, we're all building like Seal Blood decks or the Prince that was promised decks, and so there's just not as much brain power or like.
Well, I also don't. I personally, and Jesse, I believe, would agree with me that there isn't a better version than the Dario Speedwagon.
Yes, Fat Cat Reigns is better.
Boo!
All right.
Ooh, which
next
one
question. It's already 12:30 EST, so I gotta go deal with the young peoples. So let's do this.
I think Fat Cat Reigns is better, but
Fat Cat Reigns is probably the best Reigns deck right now.
Broke my heart, Jesse.
I love Dario Speedwagon, but Catelyn Reigns has won some tournaments, dog.
Night's Watch
Yeah.
Reigns is probably still good too, right?
Dario would have just killed it.
That's fair. Dario would wreck that deck. All right, moving on to the AMA. Let's see. How many? So this one is going to be really tough for me to answer. Maybe someone else has a better answer. I think Roy and Alejandro will be able to best help on this scenario. It's because they played 1.0. How many economy and how many draw cards should go into Knights of the Hollow Hill decks? That like all depends on the faction, right? But like,
We also don't like the problem is without influence existing as a resource in second edition, and that was just for pure 2.0 players. In 1.0, that was a separate resource that usually paid for events, and it was built into the agenda. Like that was one of the main reasons to play the agenda in first edition was access to that free influence. Free. The consistent influence. We don't have that, so like what that does to the agenda, we don't know. Like
Well, that
the
also
agenda's-
like with your
even out? Like, is it out yet? Is the pack
it's
out?
out.
It's out. Okay, did I buy the pack?
with your influence thing, there was events that like for people that didn't play 1.0, there was events that couldn't be played with money. They could only be played with influence. Like one of them was a 4 influence dom action that just discarded everybody, right? Westeros bleeds.
Yeah.
There's
So,
another one that
like-
got rid of all locations.
Yeah,
So-
so like a Varys text box for 4 influence, which you couldn't get easily. Like that's
Yeah,
a big difference.
2 of it was on your agenda at that point.
Yeah, like you're not paying for these events. The only way that you can pay them is via influence.
Correct. So
Yeah.
we don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know the answer to that for
So-
sure.
So the thing is, I would expect
So-
most factions to be running their full suite of the 2-drop gold ones,
So-
and then the 0-drop.
Richard, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. This is like me not hiding behind anything, and Roy can attest to this. If I had built some Knights of the Hollow Hill decks, I would tell you. I have not. I hate the agenda with a passion. I think it's bad. I think any deck that is. I think there will be good Knights of the Hollow Hill decks, and when they are good, I will still say I think they would be better out of another agenda. So
I hate it too because it's promoting more do nothing.
Yep.
Like you can't print an agenda that says you don't have a setup. And that's,
I will
but so, like,
actually.
when I figure it
I'll go
out-
on the record here. I would have said this on Sons, but we didn't have Sons. Might not have Sons until after my wedding. I would bet that the first successful Knights of Hollow Hill decks are not do nothing decks.
I think there'll be attrition decks or burn decks.
I would wager that they would be Targaryen.
I think it would be
It'll either be Targaryen or there'll be
Martell.
Martell control, but not Martell like do nothing like passive
Well,
power.
okay, so my definition of do nothing was bad. Does the challenge phase matter? No. That's
Martell
like,
control needs the challenge phase to matter, right? Like it's not
I think so.
builders.
yeah, I guess.
I mean, it could just be like I'm not
Won't-
like
Won't play 7-drop characters and attack you.
correct.
That's more
That
what I
is
should have
definitely
said.
true.
Yeah, won't win the game by attacking you with characters with costs with good text boxes. We'll milk you with little
Well,
characters.
whoa. The good text boxes thing. Martell has some cheap characters with good text boxes. So does-
It needs to be a deck that can open Valor, right?
So I don't
Yes.
know, Richard. I don't think any of us know. I think you open Naval actually. I think you open the 000 plot and you naval them. I think that
Sure.
will be the best plot. But so I think we're gonna move on. Richard, I'm sorry, we do not know the answer to that, but we will revisit it at another time. I'm sure we will discuss the agenda.
Anyway, at least 6, Richard.
Yes, yeah, a lot. Jess Thompson, what would you add to the restricted list? We can all give one answer.
This is This is
We can
We'll
all
look
give
into
one
Jeff's
answer.
Claims, although Melisandre's dead, so there are no.
This is not a Second Sons discussion. One answer apiece. Who says Vince first?
I won't say Vince. I'll go first and not say Vince.
All right, go, Brad.
3-finger hob.
Ah, poop.
Desert Raider.
The card's fucking ridiculous. That's like the first time I read the card, I was like, really? The cost is half less than the maximum number of cards here.
Roy, what would you say?
Vince. I'll say Vince.
All right,
Coward. You coward!
I'll say Drogon. Not for
Yeah.
any reason other than I'm biased and I don't like it.
Should have been Mira.
But don't you say that. You used yours.
Mira is a good girl.
You
Silence.
used yours, Alejandro. Never.
What did Alejandro
Mira?
say?
Come here, Mira. Oh,
You burned it.
Desert
what did-
Raider.
Desert Raider. That's a good pick.
It is a good pick. You guys did all the good picks.
We all picked a card from a different faction.
All right, Rob Wilkie with maybe literally the best question of the night. What is the best deck? Klansman, Drown God, or New Wall?
Of these
Wow.
three,
I'll take.
Sometimes you pander to the fucking host.
I guess I'll take this one, boys.
You're missing Fat Cat, by the way, Rob.
The answer is big. I'll answer for Jesse. Big Wall. Klansman
Got him.
sucks now. Big Wall's the new hotness.
Got him.
What was the third deck?
It's
Drown God.
Drown God, which is probably
Doesn't
better.
matter. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's all Big Wall all the time. Jesse locked in already. Every event we go to doesn't matter.
I will
Big
say,
Wall.
I made it. I last week when I was drunk, I literally posted this heartfelt story on the Lances, and Roy can attest to it. For the first time, I can't believe I ever got to this point. The New Wall is my favorite deck in Thrones over Klansman.
Yeah.
I've never had more fun. I just get to play with your cards. How does that feel? Does that feel good to you?
I told you that. This is why you want Crow to be good, because you just want to put your fucking filthy mitts on everybody else's shit.
The best feeling in my time. So, Ethan Dasher, one of my best friends, good dude. Last time I played Big Wall at a tournament, he walked up to me and was like, I didn't know you brought Greyjoy to this tournament. Made my fucking day. Just made my day.
He was serious too. It wasn't like a joke.
He doesn't play the game very often.
Yeah,
He doesn't know. He was like, I didn't know you played Greyjoy at this tournament. Oh, I didn't, buddy. My opponent thought he was being a dick. My opponent was like, oh. I'm like, he doesn't know. Don't worry, I only have Asha, Balon, Euron, and Theon. Don't worry, dog. Not a big deal. Yeah, New Wall. New Wall's cool. It's fun. Sea of Blood doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
Jesse, what if they made a plot that like gained control of all cards you own?
Oh my god.
Oh yes, yes.
I would not be surprised if that plot gets printed.
Or
Oh,
a character that just did it at the end of each turn, gain control of all the cards you own.
Let's be honest. Ever
It's got the
since I've
Tristani.
ever been vocal about Klansmen, they've only printed hate cards for it.
It's going to be really funny because they're going to print a card, and I'm going to say this right now, so if Danny, for some odd reason, hears this, he doesn't fuck it up. If they make a card that gains control of all cards you own, and they make it do it every turn, it better not work with In at the Crossroads. If you're just going to draw two, give it to him, and then take it back at the end of the turn.
Alright, Colin Weir, what's your favorite card to play with from this past couple of cycles in terms of fun, not necessarily power level?
What?
Like, what's your favorite card to play with for fun? I know you don't understand that, Alejandro. You ever? So
Jesse, can I take a guess at your pick?
Is it
Sure.
the Big Wall?
No, it's going to be either Bay of Seals or Hard Home.
mine is definitely Bay of Seals.
All three of those cards came out in the same cycle, didn't they?
They definitely did. And when Bay of Seals got printed, they were like, "Oh, this card's gonna be bad." I was like, well, "We'll see. Let's just see how it plays out, buddy." Now, when you use Bay of Seals against people, they're like, "What does that card do?" I'm like, "Fuck you."
That's what it
All
does.
right.
Just fuck you.
Alejandro, what the hell does Alejandro? What do you play for fun?
He doesn't. He doesn't understand what fun
good
is.
cards for fun. Like,
He doesn't
I
get
don't
it.
know what you mean.
He
You
wins
had,
for fun.
there's no way you have never jammed an average or below average card into your deck just to see what it would do.
Oh, I've
No, I
convinced him a
definitely
couple
have.
times. He gets real mad at me about it.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
the-
I do. After that, like,
He's like, I should have played this bad fucking deck.
There had to be like a bad card in some Sea of Blood deck you made or something. You played like some one of event where you're like, it's a one of, you know.
One time we
Oh,
convinced
yeah.
him to play HRD Skazadon with 2x
oh
exchange.
god.
And he yelled at me for an hour. I'm not even the one who convinced him to play the deck. He was
I blame
upset.
CT.
I don't
I'm
remember who
excited
it was. It might have been
Groth's
Groth.
fault for sure.
It was
yeah.
Groth. I only ever try to get him to play cool decks, not that shit.
I'm trying to think of cards that came out recently that like were super interesting. I had fun playing some of the new Lanny Shadow stuff. Clever Feint is fucking cool.
Yeah, Mandan Moore is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
That-
Clever Feint's neat.
That's a really good card too. Like,
It is.
Yeah, but it's not like Lanny Shadows is the nut deck or something, right?
Not yet. Not
yet.
yet.
I think it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Me and
It
Sam,
will be.
me and
Once the
Sam,
Kingdom card comes out.
Sam and I had tested that deck a lot, and I'm just miserable at Shadows. Outside of that, so like,
Yeah,
take this
yeah,
with a grain,
Right
take this with
now,
a grain of
it's,
salt, but it's slow.
yeah,
It's always
Well, it
fucking-
doesn't. It
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Your
Yeah,
win
it's
condition
definitely-
is not 15 power.
No,
For sure.
it's fucking
9
slow.
power and time.
And we also figured it took us like a ton of laps between like me, him, and Leonard to figure out that Castle's like, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but Balls of Castle Rock is a fucking trap. Every deck, we all wanted to play it, and it was just never good enough. It was always so fucking slow.
I think it will be with Kingdom. That's how you know it's a trap. They were like, oh, it's a good card. When this card comes out, it'll get better, Brad. Don't worry, it will be. I promise. That's how you know it's a trap. It's like the wall. I'm like, oh, when this card comes out, it'll be real good. I promise. I swear.
Clansman's getting better. Clansman's getting better. Sea of Blood, this fucking over. It's fucking over. We can tutor attack from them all. It's fucking over. But yeah, I'd say Clever Feint was fun. Like, I'm terrible at Shadows, so maybe that's why I had fun playing it, because I'm really, really bad at it. I just always felt
super fun.
I always felt behind.
Even the simplest play, like Clever Fainting, your Robert Strong, is hilarious.
And
It's
then
just
getting him again, you're like, oh yeah. Especially when he's knelt, like if you made a challenge with him and then Clever Feint him and blow up another guy.
All right, Roy, what choice?
I'm not going to be interesting, so I'll be like Alejandro. Probably Skagos is the most fun I've had because it just like so much weird, cool shit that you can do with that card.
I've had
Like,
a lot of
obviously,
fun
like,
with
really
Skagos.
fun. But just
yeah.
It's like just so many cool plays, like, and then the run up to Worlds because we fell on Stark at the last possible minute in the run up to Worlds, and figuring out Skagos in a week was interesting. It was an interesting.
Even not in the deck, I am known for playing Skagosun, which I do love it in Fat Cat. It's busted.
Great in Fat Cat.
But like
great in
Skagosing Arya and the no save Arya is just like, it feels
It's a great play.
fucking amazing.
Yeah, I
Also,
was gonna say
like-
anything that lets you do like a 2-1 split on the unique versions of cards is cool.
Yeah,
And also, like, bringing Mira out of Shadows to blank your own Umbra Loyalist, sacking that Umbra Loyalist with Skagos, putting Mira back into Shadows, drawing cards. It's like,
some of
you
us
feel
play
like when you do plays like that, you feel like you're a god.
some of us play Tumblestone Knights, not that bad card. So I don't know
Oh,
what he's
yeah.
talking about.
I
there.
agree with you, Royce. Skagos, even Skagos, like when you're doing good stuff, like just putting Skagos in your deck and kind of building around it opens up like so many fucking
It
lines
really
of play.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the number of lines of play, and the fact that it's like it's also a Shadows card, which is very narrow, but like matters sometimes is kind of neat. Like for most of all, like I gotta take away from like I hate the Shadows cards that the Shadows doesn't matter. So like Scheming Septon doesn't matter a ton, and like Skagos doesn't matter for the most part. But I think it having Shadows is just another line with that card on top of the thousands of lines you already have. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, fuck it.
Skagos is definitely I'm going to piggyback off that. That one is.
That is a
super-
good. I have
The
had a
thing
lot
is
of
that
fun
that
playing
card-
Skagos.
The thing is, that card is also very, very good. So it
Yeah.
kind of
Alejandro, be
cheating
cool
a
and
little
say
bit, but-
be cool and say Ravages of War.
I will
That's
say
the
that my
real
other
cool
card that I have had immense amounts of fun with, much to my friends' dismay, in deck building groups, that I should not be having fun with is Kingslayer.
Oh my god. Alright, so that ends this. So let's
had a
move
lot
on.
of fun with Maiden Sword.
If we're on Kingslayer, then that's just like.
What spoiled card are you most looking forward to? I'll start this off.
The Benefaction
Lion Star.
card.
Lion Star, hands down.
Oh, is that the mini Harrenhal?
Yep.
Okay. Of course you are.
Clansman. It's that, or it's the new, or it's the new Yorin. It's like, sucks that his name is Yorin. I wish it was just like some random dude, Night's Watch, who steals things. That'd be cool.
You needed a fucking reggae horn after the.
Oh yeah.
Mine's definitely the Mel that was the 6-drop Mel.
Alex
for
Black
the
is
little
turning
while
over.
that
Alex Black is turn it over in his AGOT coffin with the sniff of Martel Stag coming back. He can smell
It's
it.
a very different deck than the one Alex played, though.
Oh, Desert Raider is
is,
restricted?
yeah.
Oh god.
The meddling mage, right? Isn't there like a? Didn't they spoil a revolt lore card that you can look at your opponent's hand and get rid of a card, right?
I don't know.
Wasn't there one?
I don't think I've seen that one.
I saw that one. There was like a 2-drop that had a dude in a red thing.
that sounds familiar.
Where is it? Fight games.
What's yours, Brad? While he's looking.
Come. What do you think mine is?
I think it's
It speaks to my soul. It's motherfucking Outwit, Jesse.
Oh.
Conclave!
Oh hell yeah! I love Maesters. I love.
You also really like to do Bob, right? It just keeps all locations dealt. Just Rex builders.
Yeah, fuck that shit. Yeah, nice location. The good 10 gold investment, idiot. But you feel stupid if none of them stand.
I love Salador so much, but he just beats New Wall so hard. It breaks my heart.
Yeah, I just really.
Red Priest. After Red Priest, play, look at an opponent's hand, then choose one card from that hand and remove it from the game.
Oh yeah, Schoenthal loves that card a lot too.
Good lord,
Yeah.
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
What
and
is
it's a
it?
Relore. It's a 3-drop, not a 2-drop. It's a 3-drop.
Read the text box again.
So it's a 3 for 2 strength, red and green, non-unique, Relore, reaction. After Red Priest enters play, look at an opponent's hand, then choose one card in that hand and remove it from the game until Red Priest leaves play.
Oh, that's fucking good. That's a Tide Hello Sculler, by the way.
Yeah.
If you wanted your Magic reference.
There we go. I couldn't remember if it said that you couldn't play the card or remove the card.
Yeah, dude, I like Outwit, and that used to be a Learned Crest in like 1.0, and now it's Maester.
Is it 2 Maesters, 1 Maester?
It's one unique Maester. That's a little awkward. I wish it wasn't a unique Maester, but I mean, canceling fucking Valor's insane, right?
Alright.
This part lets you just outplay people. Like, you're just gonna do bad things to people that you're better than.
Alright, let's move on. Let's just give a quick answer. Does the upcoming Bear box immediately catapult them to T1? I don't know all of the box, but I do think it does.
Well, I think there's going to be 1 or 2 Baratheon strategies that break into the top decks. Like, they're just dumping it. That's what we've seen with every box.
I will say this. I think that it will make Bara have tier 1 decks. Bara will not be a top 3 faction.
I think that's correct.
I think Barrow will no longer be a fucking joke, but they definitely won't beat the nut.
I think it will be very interesting to see who sits on the bottom of the wheel. I have a hard time viewing a game for the future, but Lanny getting Kingdom of Shadows and Bear getting a box makes the game very interesting to me.
I mean, I'm hearing from hardcore Martell players that it's Martell that's sliding down.
Well, of course, every hardcore Martell player is woe is me every 5 seconds, but they win Gen Con World. Get the fuck out of here. Their cards are just fine.
I also think the Barra box does lower the discrepancy. So even if Barra sits at 6 or 7 still, faction.
For the first time in
not as
long...
far apart from the 5th faction, and the 5th faction is not as far apart from the 4. I still think everything below Greyjoy, Stark, and Targaryen is like
with no restricted
there's a
list.
big
I think
gap.
for the first time,
What about builders?
post Barra box,
Builders itself. Not talking about factions.
Not Night's Watch, just
Yeah.
builders.
post Barra box, post Kingdom of Shadows. I think for the first time in a long time, maybe ever, in my opinion, a big tournament any house could win. And like that is really exciting to me. Like, that's very exciting.
Are any of the decks that can win from those factions exciting to you?
No,
You did not land it.
not really.
He'll love.
I mean, I
gonna
love
be-
Kingdom of Shadows.
Yeah, he's gonna be all like, "We should play some Shadows Lannister cards."
100%
Then I
Jesse plays
burned all
Big
my
Wall.
Tywins.
100%
I mean-
Jesse plays Big Wall.
I'll play some Shadows. I'll play some Big Wall. There's a chance I'll figure out how to get Mace into a deck here before too long.
This is why
I'm
I think
gonna
builders.
play the shit out of that White Cloak card.
This is why I think builders might be the best, because when everybody else like gets around
Oh!
even, builders.
Wait, I
go
don't even remember what I said. What spoiled card are you most looking forward to? It's for sure White Cloak. I have like 6 decks I want to play.
What is White Cloak?
You said
Who's the one who
Clansman
called
card.
your attention to that interaction, Jesse?
Huh?
What is
called
White
you-
Cloak?
It's a busted cohort card,
Oh, God.
boy.
JonTron. It lets you, if
Can you
it only
send me a
attaches
link?
to a knight, it lets you kneel the character to save a king character. So if you have the crown that makes them a king, and they're a knight, they can just kneel themselves to save themselves.
If you have the equal number of lords and ladies, Barristan and Serdantos save the entire board on a Valor turn. Just saying.
What?
So you can
Just
just kneel Sir Barristan to save somebody and then stand him to save somebody?
Yep.
Woo!
Hey, boys.
So it's a 1-cost card, it's an attachment, plays on a knight, kneel attached character to save a king.
Or
Uh-huh.
queen.
Or queen.
Also, you can put it. Also, you can put it on the Blackfish and put it on Lannister and put the Boy King on him. And then
Yeah!
Yep.
Eddie and the Boy King.
Yep. You just Voltron out. There's a lot better versions. You can put it on Core Knight of Flowers, who's a knight, and Tyrell, and grab Beacon, and just win like turn 2, I think.
What? Wait, what? Oh,
You can
These are getting
Voltron. You can
weird
play
now.
Tyrell Cohort straight up. If you
Uh-huh.
see 5-cost Knight of Flowers on turn 1
yeah.
and White Cloak, you can just win
Why does him having a White Cloak matter?
because he
They
can
can't
save
research
himself.
Why does he need to save himself? I'm confused.
Because they're gonna valor you if you put.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just to be fair. I was like, how do you just like win if you put an attachment on a guy?
Oh,
Yeah, that's
You can also do it with
Bodyguard
he
is
had-
revolutionary.
Let's go ahead and shout out to Derek Shoemaker, who just said he just played Big Wall. He got Viper turn 1 and Darkstar turn 2. He conceded. That's the kind of games we're looking for, boys. That's what's gonna make Thrones great again.
Hi,
All right, next
Will.
question. Oh, 12
All right. Should this card see competitive play? Melisandre, no.
All right.
Why don't
Is it the
dragons
6?
have superior line of sight compared to ships?
Is it the 6-drop Melisandre?
Also,
no, it's
why
the
didn't
7,
John-
the Mirando one.
Oh,
Also,
okay.
why didn't John pet his dog? Oh.
Okay. Save that
How
for
can-
Watchers on the Wall.
This tilt-
Twitch.tv/.
this-
Watched on the
tilts me.
couch. How can Cohort best exploit Gifts the Widow and Black Market Merchant?
Who?
What is Black
Sorry.
Market Merchant?
It's the new one
that's
that
a Shadows card that comes out of that. So, to normal people, it says when it comes out of Shadows, you search the top 10 cards of your deck for an attachment.
Attachment with
to
3 or
play.
lower. 3 or lower, right?
It says I get to play Ices whenever I want.
Yeah. Why would you? So, what was the question? You don't need to exploit them. You just play fucking Queensguard on somebody, right? Because she's not loyal, isn't she?
Yes, she's non-loyal.
Okay, so she tutors Queensguard for every deck
So you
that
now
wanted
run 6 Gift
Queensguard.
of the Widows in your deck.
Yeah, and then anybody who...
I personally believe that I think that this makes Targro's cohort very good, and no one in America will listen to me. I will say this right now. Nico will make this deck insane.
Is there a way? So if she's non-loyal, could you just play like? Could you just keep turning things into fucking? Because you can cohort equal to, so you just turn things into what's the fucking Martell poison dart thing?
Venomous Blade?
Feeblade, because you could just
Is
tutor
Fleetblade a marshaling trigger or enters play trigger?
Enters,
Marshal.
Enters
Interest play, yeah, because you can
enters
ambush it.
play because it has ambush. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could just keep looping like V blades and shit. That seems kind of degen, right?
If
I mean,
you
it's probably fine, because the chick tutors him. The girl
Right.
tutors him. She's not Targaryen attachment only,
and
right?
so then you sack it with Cohor, put it
And then
back in with Isle, and then just
No, you have to get you have to get another card, so you get Queensguard on somebody else, and then you turn your Queensguard back. But she just puts it into play for you, like
to
you
get
can.
it started, get the change
Yeah,
started.
Is she when she marshals or enters
Comes out of
play?
shadows.
Comes out of
Okay,
shadows.
thank God.
Yep. All right. Next. Will Martell survive Cycle 6? Yes,
Yeah.
Martin will survive Cycle 6. All factions move on.
I don't know. I watched the show. That's such.
Why does he think that it won't? Is there something I'm missing?
He's just a Martell loyalist.
Yeah,
Why is that so Hill such an underwhelming journey? I feel like we've already kind of ran this, went over this. I don't know that it is underwhelming. It is to me. I want to be proven right or wrong, and I don't personally know because I don't find it interesting enough to build around.
Well, they were the reserve.
Even with the naval aspect.
So basically, with the 2 initiative is going to matter sometimes, but never matter against Greyjoy, right?
Right.
And then the 2 gold is basically what you get
3
from
gold.
having, or 3 gold. You almost get that from an actual setup anyway. Like if you set up
And you also don't get gold additions on any of your cards.
right. So you have to play the 2-drop locations that make money.
Yep.
And
Which
the
half
in-house
the
reducers.
houses are bad.
And then the in-house reducers. So like you're neutering your own cards in-house, and you're not getting that much better of a better game than you would have had if you just flopped T1, right?
Agreed.
It's like Roy was saying, like it having influence in 1-0 was a way to pay for cards that you literally couldn't pay for any other way. So that was a very unique effect, and it opened up the card pool, because before you couldn't play those things. So
Anyone have any other thoughts?
like you can just read Wheels Within Wheels in 1-0 and understand why Knights of the Hollow Hill was good, right? Because Wheels you needed 2 influence to play, right?
No, you just needed
You
a
didn't
unique.
go-
Oh, I thought you needed 2. Oh, never mind then. I thought you needed 2 influence for that.
No, you need to look at the burn card, Flame Kissed, which was an
Yeah.
attachment that made them
Ambush,
-3 strength, right? It could basically kill almost
thought it was-
anything in the game.
Isn't it 2?
-2, yeah.
It was
Two?
-2. Whatever it was just you could kill everything with that
Yeah.
card, and you could pay with it with 2 influence as an any phase action.
Yeah, instead
Yeah.
of paying the cost, you could just
Yeah.
pay influence, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about this quite a bit last week too, and it just seems really hard to.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
To make it work.
There's been no major tournaments with the card legal, so I'm not willing to write it off yet. Like,
Agreed.
Me either. I just don't know. All right. Sergey. He's the leader of the Start group. He's a cool guy. Greyjoy popularity on the decline since later restricted list. Are people fed up with him? He's pulling the statistics from Jousting Pavilion. So no, I don't think. So Greyjoy mirrors are atrocious. I think people are
They are.
fed up of playing mirrors, so they're playing decks that they think have a chance against Greyjoy. I think people still think they are just as good as they were. People are just tired of playing the mirror.
the mirror's miserable AF.
It is super miserable.
It's super funny, because we had a question earlier that was like, is Greyjoy the best deck and how do I beat it? And now it's like, are people getting sour on Greyjoy? I think it's just Greyjoy is the boogeyman. Like, some people do play the boogeyman, but at the same time, I think that overall it's just a big scary boogeyman at this point.
And Americans are also notoriously down on Greyjoy. Like,
Yeah.
it's played a lot less in the U.S. Like the box and Vince, I think, has like overcome people's on this continent's like dislike of Greyjoy, but that's dying off as they encounter these miserable Greyjoy mirrors. And someone's like, "Oh, I want to play the most busted factions. Obviously, Greyjoy. I'm gonna play that." And then they're like, "Oh, this is why I don't like playing Greyjoy."
Also, people probably feel salty about having to play that dollar store edgelord Jack Sparrow wannabe, right?
Yeah.
You're on our favorite character.
There's, I think that was well said. That there's just like been a bias against Greyjoy pretty much since the inception of 2.0
and 1.0. There was a big bias against Greyjoy at 1.0 too.
It's because they're based on taking people's stuff away, and that's not fun.
Also, Greyjoy thematically are the worst.
All right, Michael Amzik. What should I play to feast for crows? New wall dog.
Big wall. Big wall.
Dothraki, man. Dothraki.
He should play builders.
He probably will.
Fucking wall.
Mike's gonna talk the talk about playing Dothraki and owning people with multiple claim armies and all that stuff. But no, he'll just play builders.
Wow.
All right, in 1.0, there were agendas that were House X only. Is this an idea that's going to be the thing in 2.0?
What?
In 1.0, there were house-only agendas. Is this the thing that could ever be a thing in 2.0?
Absolutely. Why could that not be a thing? If they need to keep their card game alive, and it's hard to make awesome, cool things, right? Like that's
it would be cool if they did it. I think it would be cool. They would just like follow along with the themes.
Yeah, it's an avenue.
I would just want them to be balanced, unlike their other themed cards.
But let's be honest with you. I mean, like the ones at 1.0 were not particularly balanced. The Martell one had to be restricted to death. I mean, Buzz is sitting here, maybe half listening to us. Siege got cards restricted, which was the Stark one. The Greyjoy Old Way got cards restricted. The Baratheon one got cards restricted. What was it? I'm missing a faction. Lannister. The Lannister one got cards restricted too. Like they were all
in a 1.0 draft. I played with the Old Way. That card's not fair.
Sure, so they'd have to do a better job balancing them, but there's definitely 100%, if the game doesn't die before they print them, they would come to a point where they would print them, right?
They might, but I think that they're a little weary of them.
I mean, like, agendas themselves already have cards restricted around them, or restricted cards. Like, Wars to Come is fucking restricted, and that's neutral.
Yeah. Well, Wars to Come never should have been printed.
Sure, but I mean, like, it's not unbelievable to say that you couldn't make faction-specific agendas that were, like, decently controlled.
It's fair.
I just don't think he's going to
give us that.
Could it ever happen? I think that it could. Whether or not they will, I don't think that they want to.
There's your next Wars to Come content. Have everybody make a house-specific agenda that isn't fucked.
Sure.
I wanted to touch on the last question before we moved on.
Sure.
So Mike was asking what he should play, and I wanted to point out that back when Isle of Ravens was up, the guys with the best elo were always guys that were super loyalist. Like Alex from France always played Greyjoy, and he was number one, right? And Tomas always plays Night's Watch, and so I think that if you really want to perform all the time, you do that. You like become a loyalist. You play a house. You know it inside and out. And Mike's done that a few times with builders now. And if he wants his best chance of winning a tournament, he should play that. That's what I was going to say.
When is the last time either of those decks has been bad?
I mean, that's not the point that I'm making, though, right? Like, obviously, you don't want to play bad decks, but you want like I bored with the deck.
I agree with you, but I would also want to see like how much results improved and when, right? Because it's like some of it's going to be play. If you take 1,000 laps with the same deck, you're going to get better at it. But at the same time, both of those decks are improving as well, right? So like you said, you checked their elos, right? So like what were their win percentages before Greyjoy got good?
This was before Greyjoy.
Oh, it was okay. Yeah, see,
yeah.
I didn't know. That's why I was asking. But that's impressive then. Like doing that. Yeah, I agree with you that taking like 1,000 laps of the deck is a good idea. So, and playing what you're comfortable with.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. CT. Oh, why are you shit? Oh, I don't know. Sorry.
Because big wall costs 6.
Yep.
Austin
Rip.
Watley. You can straight up ban one card. Which is it? Mine would have been trade routes before the restricted list. I think mine now. Actually, no. Mine has and always will be Lord of the Crossing. I think it's the most oppressive card that's ever been printed in the game.
You know what? Mine's New Wall.
Oh, that's just low blows. You're just being mean. I'm nice to my friends. You're just being mean to me now.
Roy's gonna ban the buy a house card. We gotta watch out. 186 A or whatever. B's still gonna be legal, but A's gone. I would ban Flea Bottom. I think there's just too much fuckery that's happened around it for way too long, and there's like other restrictions that revolve around that card. Like the card just caused problems, still does cause problems, and has never felt like fun.
Yep.
I mean, in all
Sea
seriousness,
of Blood. It encourages everything I hate about this game.
Attacking?
Mine would probably be Craven. I'm not gonna lie.
You would be what?
Mine would be Craven.
Oh, yours
Oh,
are about
what
to not attacking.
What a coward ass answer.
I love how you and Roy gave like the exact opposite parallels. Alejandro's like, I love to attack. And then Roy's like, I hate when people attack me.
Yeah, I do.
It's awful. I don't enjoy it.
Uh,
All right, so that is our AMAs, I believe, right?
Well, I cannot stay much longer. It is 1 o'clock.
Yep,
our
that is
time.
it. That is
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
So I thank you
I
so
know.
much. Tonight was kind of a casual episode, very fun, very lax. I am super appreciative of our guests that joined us tonight. Brad, do you have anything going on this next week?
trying to think. Probably gonna go see Detective Pikachu at some point.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I hope. On
And then
Tuesday,
I'm
after
going-
work.
Yeah, and then I'm going through the circle jerk of getting like one of those fucking real IDs so I can go on that cruise later this year.
That's awesome.
Oh, shit,
That's
my
awesome.
ID's expired.
Because
My
it takes you
passport
like
expired, which I did not
Yeah.
realize. So.
it takes you like fucking 8 weeks to get a passport or whatever. I was like, it would like so when we checked like the mailing time, my passport would arrive like the exact same day we were set to leave for the cruise. Like if it was the maximum amount of time that it took them to mail me my
Sure.
passport, I was like, So yeah,
Yeah, those generally go out really quick, though. Of course, if you want to be safe, like you just
yeah. People have said that to me, and then I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll just go get a passport, and then it'd be like the day of, and I'd just be sweating, just waiting
You
for
don't-
the mailman to show up. I'd be like, come on.
Wait, are you going to a foreign country on your cruise?
No, but we can. Well, they're like docking in Canada, so we can
Oh.
like. I could like get into Canada easier, but I think I can get in with like one of the real ID things and then a birth certificate, if I'm not
You should be
mistaken.
able, but I think you might have to have a passport to get a real ID, don't you?
No, you can. That's what I went to the DMV today for, was to figure out all the shit that I needed to get a real ID, and you did not need a passport. It was like I need like a letter mailed to me, a fucking birth certificate, like my ID itself, and then like one other thing. I think like something with my social on it or some shit like that. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Alejandro, you got anything going on next week?
Yeah, I think I'll also be watching Detective Pikachu and going to see something else that I can't remember off the top of my head. But I've got a cool weekend coming up. I'm excited.
Awesome. That's exciting. Roy, what about you?
Al and I might go see Detective Pikachu this weekend. I plan on Drafty War of the Spark this weekend too, which I have not done yet.
That's awesome.
I'm getting married in 2
Ooh,
weeks.
Yep,
Congratulations.
If I survive the grind and work until then, if work doesn't grind me into a tiny little microscopic dust spectacle like what Thanos did to the Affinity Gems in Endgame, I will be getting married in 2 weeks. So
I am very excited for your wedding.
I am very excited for my wedding as well, and I'm excited you're going to be there.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see. I will go see Detective Pikachu next week. I'm very excited. Some childhood stuff coming to life. Good thing about my week. Oh, Alejandro introduced me to this podcast, In the Dark, Season 2.
in the dark. I bet Alejandro introduced you.
So like we're both big fans of like true crime podcasts, and this guy, I mean, it like literally has like this podcast has pissed me off towards the South as a whole. Like it has just made me angry.
Fuck Mississippi. Is that what you're saying? Sorry, Will.
But no, it is really it's good. It makes you feel things. That's what I like. So that has happened, and this weekend I'm going to go over to Minnesota, go over to the FFG Center, and play in Lord of Harrenhal tournament. And it's Ben Barnhart's farewell to America before he goes and hangs out with his parents in California for a couple months, and then moves on to Germany. So that should be very fun. I'm excited to play some big wall against some folks.
That reminded me.
I'm excited
to see Sherlock Holmes to play this weekend.
Oh,
That's
nice.
another thing.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining, especially our esteemed guest. And thank you guys so much for joining us tonight on The Wars to Come. Join us in 2 weeks on Thursday on the next episode of The Wars to Come. Buzz, you can cut it.